Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibzuda7 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 video here today. In this video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, which I don't do a whole lot, but I'm going to be summarizing some information from the stream that happened this afternoon, talking a little bit about the data that they went over. They did a data stream, which are always pretty interesting to see and learn about what various things are. There were a decent amount of things about archaeology in here that are pretty significant, but it wasn't as interesting as some of the older ones with different things like boss kills and stuff was not included in this one, but still it had some pretty cool things that I thought it'd be nice to go over. And I'm just going to be doing archaeology here in the background during this video. Still working on 200 mil, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. The first section they went over were the skilling pets. And this was for the year of 2019, and it was pretty much as you'd expect. There weren't a whole lot of surprising things there. They went over the order of skilling pets that are most common. Starts with HP. Farming as second was not too surprising because this was for the year of 2019, and obviously 120 farming and herbal did come out then. And then mining and smithing were next, which I guess people are still working hard on those from the rework. And then followed by like all the combat skills after that, pretty much. So yeah, not too surprising. And then the least common was, of course, the construction. As everyone knows, that's probably the rarest pet by far. And then rune crafting and hunter were also quite low in terms of how common they are. They also said that there have been 38,140 Archie pets in the game, which is honestly lower than I thought, but still quite a lot considering it's been out for only a month now. But yeah, that was all they really went over for the skilling pets section. Not too interesting, but still kind of to see how much you'd get in a year in terms of skilling pets. They showed the actual numbers there. I'm not going to list them off all here, but they should be available elsewhere. They went over a couple things about Anachronia. Not a whole lot of information, to be honest. I was hoping they'd talk a little bit more about how far along people have progressed their base camp, maybe, or a little bit about the Slayer creatures there and their drops and stuff, but mostly they just talked about the agility and a little bit of BGH. So I think they did mention something about the ranch as well. They had some of the animals, like how often people cared for them, but that wasn't a very, there weren't any numbers on that, and it was pretty much as you'd expect with like Jadinko, salamanders, and frogs being way higher, and then all the other BGH dinos being a lot lower. But they did talk about the agility course a bit, and apparently the fastest lap for the agility course is 4 minutes and 23 seconds, which is a lot faster than I thought the fastest lap was. I don't know if you can quick chat it. Oh God, here we go. Yeah. So my fastest lap is only 6 minutes 34 seconds, which is not that good compared to 4 minutes 23. Now I know like you can use probably the power burst of acceleration a couple times on the course to get you a little bit faster, but I just don't know how the hell you shave off 2 whole minutes. It seems crazy to me, but yeah, that is the fastest lap, and then the slowest lap is 29 minutes 46 seconds. So wonder what that guy was doing. Not too sure. And then the average is 8 minutes 11 seconds. So yeah, that seems about right because most people are kind of taking it pretty slow, not really worrying too much about movement abilities, just mindlessly clicking as you do agility. That's kind of how I did it, to be honest, although I would bladed dive and surge at the important points where it saves a lot of time. But yeah, that was kind of a surprise to me to see how low that fastest lap was. Pretty wild. And they also showed the BGH activity and how it took a massive spike of like 5 times more activity after Archaeology came out, of course, because of the dragon Maddock dropping from there. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting graph to see, but that's all they had for Anachronia. And then for Archaeology general items here, there were a couple of cool ones. There have been about 1.2 million collections completed in total, with Zeros 1 Museum being the most common, followed by Zamorak 1 Museum, and then the Zeros 1 Plane Collection. So that's kind of what you'd expect, the lowest level collections being by far the most common. And then the least common ones were all the highest level collections. So those were Knowledge is Power, Bandos 3, and Magic Man. Magic Man being the least common. And Knowledge is Power does require one of these items from here. And I don't know what Magic Man requires, but it is also, that is by far or it wasn't by far, these were all pretty close in terms of how common, but yeah. And they also showed some information about the relics, which was kind of interesting. The tutorial relic is owned by 245,000 people, so I guess that's how many people have completed the tutorial, or how many accounts at least, which they sounded like that was a pretty good number. It was honestly lower than I expected, considering how many people I've seen playing and doing archaeology, but maybe I don't have a good grasp of how large of a number that really is. I don't know, in terms of like accounts, but yeah, I probably do not think of it in the right way, but yeah, that's interesting to see. And then they just showed all of the different relics and how often they are first unlocked, and then after they're unlocked, how often they are actually active. The Luck of the Dwarves relic, I think, had the highest percentage of unlocked to active like ratio, which is kind of obvious. Like if you're going to sacrifice your Luck of the Dwarves for the relic, you're probably going to have it active. The Divine Conversion relic was also pretty popular in terms of being active, and the one that gives you 2% bonus archaeology XP, I think it's Inspire Effort, was also high percentage of active to unlocked. But all the higher level ones obviously were quite low down, except a couple of them. I think the Abyssal Link one was almost at the bottom, and then the lowest one was the one that makes you not use up run energy, were the ones that were the lowest that even were unlocked or not. So that was kind of interesting to see that the highest level relics weren't necessarily at the very bottom there. They also said that there has been a 23% increase in the number of Hazelmere Signet rings in the game since the release of Archaeology, and a 17% decrease in the number of porters in the game, which is bigger than it sounds in terms of the numbers, I would say, especially for the porters. So kind of interesting to see that. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen way more HSRs dropping every day since Archaeology came out. Pretty crazy. Now, the next section was the drop rates, and this section they dropped a pretty big bombshell on people who might have thought differently about one of the things that they said. So it's, of course, involving Tony's Madoc, Guildmaster Tony's Madoc. And they revealed that it is a 1 in 1,000 chance to get a key from a Tetra Compass. So that's not really too bad, honestly. I mean, Tetra Compasses, you take a while to get, and they are pretty, you can't really camp them too much, but you can kind of if you do collections and stuff. So 1 in 1,000 chance to get a key from the Tetra, and it is a 1 in 10 chance for that key to be the shadowy key, which we all know is the key that guarantees you to get the Madoc from the case. And then the other 9 out of 10 times you'll get the distorted key. And up until now, I, along with I think almost everybody, thought that there was a chance for the distorted key to give you the Madoc. However, that is not the case. The distorted key cannot give the Madoc at all. Never will it happen. So I don't know how that rumor got started or whatever happened, but the distorted key can actually not even give you the Madoc. It's basically just the Blurberry special of the Tony's Madoc. That's what they called it, because you do have a 1 in 10 chance for it to be the shadowy key, but the 9 out of 10 other times it's going to be that distorted key, which is essentially useless. The distorted key can't do anything for you. It's honestly, I was so shocked when I heard that, and some people are probably so mad that they had gotten all hyped up and thought that they could maybe get the Madoc from the case with that distorted key, and then they tried to open it and it failed, but now they're like, they know that they never even had a chance, so they got excited for nothing. I don't know. I'm glad now that I didn't get a distorted key, because I would be pretty pissed off. I just couldn't believe that they waited so long for people thinking that they could get it, and then they just drop it on us like that. It cannot even give the Madoc. So basically, every Tetra Compass you open has a 1 in 10,000 chance to give you Guildmaster Tony's Madoc. So yeah, really, really rare. I'm sure that puts it on comparable levels of rarity with the Hazelmere Signet Ring and the Orlando Smith's hat. I don't know. Have they ever released the drop rates for Tavia's Rod? I'm not sure. But either way, they're probably all similarly rare. That's really, really rare. And I don't know. I might... I definitely want to get all the hero items at some point on this account if possible. I want to get everything. That's obviously my goal. So it will be a lot of collection grinding to get enough Tetra Compasses to even have a chance at it. But I could not believe that when they said that. That was just, that that blew me away. But they also released some other drop rates which you might find interesting. The Inquisitor staff pieces. This was kind of crazy to me, and this is every time you successfully gain a material. So you'll see, like, it doesn't count when your auto screener gives you it. Like that one didn't count. But when your character like holds it up in the air, pretty much, sometimes you skip that animation if you get them multiple times in a row. But basically, it's every time you successfully get a material, and it's not from like your auto screener, that you even have a chance to roll on this. So for an Inquisitor staff piece during the pylon, if you're not inside the war table, so at like any of the spots outside of the war table, it's a 1 in 1 million drop chance on the pylon when you successfully roll a material, like when you get the material. A 1 in 1 million chance. So anybody who's gotten a staff piece on pylon outside the war table is insanely lucky, I feel like, because that is just crazy drop rate. Now these are all increased by luck rings, which is important to note, but it can't be increased by all that much, I don't think. Luck rings have never really been a huge increase in terms of your drop rates, just a slight one. So 1 in 1 million. No point in going for the staff on, like, at least on Iron Man, or no point in worrying about the pylon at all on any account until you can get inside the war table, because inside the war table the rates get a bit better. And for the Ancient Magics debris, which is the lowest level at 107, I believe, that gives you a 1 in 100,000 drop chance, and that is off pylon. So this is just the drop chance if you're just excavating in there whenever. So a 1 in 100,000 chance for a staff piece whenever you excavate a material successfully. I actually got one from that, so pretty lucky, I guess. And these numbers here are also increased by 10% on pylon. So I guess that makes it 1 in 90K. I'm not sure if that's how it would work, but that sounds like maybe it would be right. And they're also increased by luck rings as well. But yeah, for that. And then for the Praetorian debris, which is in the south of the room and is level 114 required, it's 1 in 75K. And then the war table debris in the center around the table, which is level 118 required, is 1 in 50K. So assuming maybe that's at 10%, so it'd be 1 in 45K on pylon. So how many materials do you really get in a half hour? I don't really know, because whenever I've done material calculations, it's included the stuff I got from my screener. So I don't really know how many you get straight up from a half hour, but assuming you play during the pylon every half hour or every time it's up, it's going to take you a damn long time to get the whole staff. Now, thankfully, I already have 2 pieces because I got one from the Zeros 4 collection. But yeah, getting that last piece is going to be suspicious because you can get duplicates. But yeah, those numbers were quite high. And then for the Dragon Madoc, we have it's a 1 in 101 drop chance from BGH. So people were positing it was around 1 in 100, which is the case. For some reason, they made it 1 in 101, which is weird. And then it's a 1 in 100 chance from a Tetra Compass. So yeah, pretty much similar, but obviously you can do way more BGH kills than you can Tetra. So it's pretty common. It's definitely going to go down in price a lot as time goes on. You know, give it a couple months and it'll be very cheap, I feel like, at least in my opinion, because you only ever need 2 on your account at most if you're planning on making the best Maddox. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely going to go down in price quite quickly at this point. But yeah, they also went over the spear tip, the Tetra pieces, and the complete tome chances. So the spear tip, which can only be gotten in the area behind Bandos's throne at the Warforge, is a 1 in 50K chance per successful material gain, and that is increased by luck rings as well. That is pretty low. I mean, it's the same as getting a staff piece at the war table debris off pylon, so yeah, you're probably going to need to be there for a little while if you want to get a spear tip. The chance of getting a Tetra Compass piece at any level at any plot is 1 in 1500 per successful material excavation. So yeah, that's pretty low, to be honest, lower than I would think, but I would say you probably get one, or like you'd probably be able to expect 1 or 2 every 2 or 3 hours or so with that rate, in my opinion. And then the complete tome was interesting because it is actually 1 in 250K per successful mat gain divided by the excavation level plus your archaeology level. So I'm here at the Warforged spot. I'm 120 archaeology, and this spot requires 119. If you add those together, that's 239, and then you divide 250K by 239, and you get about 1,046. So here at the highest level location with the highest level in the skill, it's about a 1 in 1,046 chance to get a tome upon successful material gain. And obviously it's going to be all over the place depending on your level. So just take your level, take the level of the place you're at, and combine them, and then divide that from 250K, and you should get the answer. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And it makes sense because I definitely feel I get more tomes now at this spot than I ever did at others, which obviously makes sense. So that's all the stuff for the drop rates from archaeology. I still cannot believe that shadowy key, distorted key thing. It doesn't ever give the Madoc. It is insane. It was a lie all along. But yeah, the next section they went over was average player, which I thought was a very interesting section because people are always talking about the average player is maxed and they need to cater more to the maxed community and whatever. So I feel like this was kind of them going for, trying to clear the air on that a little bit, and it was definitely interesting to see. So this one was kind of, excuse me, this one kind of surprised me a little bit. The average account age is 9.2 years, which is a lot longer than I would have expected considering all the Ironmen that play now, and they would obviously have 5 years or less-ish account age. So that kind of seemed a little high for me. Also, they classified an active player as someone who's played in the last 28 days. The QP on average is only 194, which is disappointing to me because that's probably going to be a justification for them to not release as many quests because people don't do them or whatever. I don't know. That seemed low to me as well, versus the high count on the age. The average total XP is 386 mil. That seems pretty reasonable. The average total level is 1907 and combat level is 107. So yeah, I think that the average player is a little bit less representative based on their metric of 28 days because someone who plays every day versus someone who plays once or twice a week is obviously going to have very different views on the game and statistics and stuff. But they also showed for every skill the average level. And the weirdest thing was that, oh wait, no, that's Constitution. I wrote these poorly. I abbreviated because I was trying to get all the data down before they got rid of it. But as you might expect, combat skills tend to be on the higher end while skilling is on the lower end. Invention is only 47. Archaeology is 45 at the moment, the average level, which is lower than I thought, to be honest with you. And then other things that are, less enjoyable, 66 for agility, 63 for construction and rune crafting. It was pretty cool to see, but there was actually not a single skill outside of invention and archaeology, which are relatively excusable, that was below 60. And there was also none that were above 80. So very interesting range there, as they are definitely pointing towards a mid-level player in terms of the average, which, again, like I said, it could be a little bit misleading based on how long they play and how often they play. But yeah, that was an interesting section in my opinion. They also went over a bit of Slayer stuff, which wasn't all that interesting. It was kind of stuff about the number of tasks people have done, which I don't find all that interesting. But the most tasks done of all time, like in total, is 8,592, which is insane, like easily way past 200 mil. So I don't know why that person continues to do the tasks, but yeah, that's wild. And that same person has also already completed 957 tasks in 2020. So yeah, I don't know how they do so much Slayer when still already probably being 200 mil, but yeah, yikes. But that section, again, not too interesting. Then they had a PvP and PvM section, but that was only about deaths, and it didn't actually have numbers on it. It just had graphs. I found that section pretty boring in terms of like, you know, I don't know, I don't really care all that much about where people have died, because they, like, it would have been a little bit more interesting if they had like a table of each boss and like how many people that boss has killed in a certain amount of time, but they did not have that. They just had graphs of what level people are when they die in PVM, which I didn't think was all that interesting. And then the final section was miscellaneous, and all that they had in there was some grand exchange info, like the number of transactions versus the number or the amount of gold changing hands, which was a little interesting, but it was just a graph. I think at the peak of the gold exchange was somewhere in the realm of 4.8 trillion or something, which is an insane amount. And then they talked about like the most popular POH house style, which I thought was one of the strangest pieces of data they could have ever pulled. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I really appreciated the archaeology information in terms of, first of all, the key, which is crazy, but it was nice to hear the Inquisitor staff drop rates, so you know that it's definitely best to do it on Pylon at the war table debris if you're wanting the best possible chance. And it's also essentially a waste of your time to go for it when it's active and you're outside the table, because 1 in 1 million, I mean, come on, please. And then the Dragon Maddock confirmation was nice, as well as the complete tome formula was cool to hear because of the fact that I definitely was noticing I get more at this location, and yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was pretty interesting for me to go over this stuff, and if you watched the stream, let me know your thoughts. If not, hopefully this got you some information you might have missed out on otherwise. I'm sure they'll have it uploaded on their channel at some point, but it's pretty long, so I think this might be a nice little summary, although it's almost 22 minutes here, but the stream was like over an hour and a half, so I think I condensed it decently, although condensing has never been my forte. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and end it off now, you guys. I still am going to have videos for the archaeology relics and researchers very soon, so you can look forward to those. And I'll probably do a final update on my special researches, and then we'll be done with the archaeology and mostly just be back to normal content with vlogs and hardcore Iron Man progress. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.